Oh, there it goes.
Town looks so pretty.
It does.
It does. Gorgeous. Wow. Beautiful.
There we go.
My dad, right?
Yeah.
Could you give me
He's gonna
that
call my
last
side.
one?
He's gonna call the rest.
Thank you. How are you?
How's it going?
Oh, yeah.
Every time
You're
I see
nervous?
Jack's off,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, pick
Not
up
a lot
all.
of fun. I tried to give you some.
You're the only person I know. Pick a ball.
I had some this morning, but I think it was like asking my other with something. This one's just.
Oh, yeah, we're all recorded right here. Amazing. Come
I
on.
watched him play.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen him play?
No.
You know, Jack's off.
I know who you
Couldn't make him.
It's
It's a plan for everyone. Sorry. You look at him and you think, this isn't fair. You're not.
This is probably one of
Great job.
Not
I
mine.
look at him, think I'm having it, so you don't think you know. It makes sense.
You should order cookies to our best.
I did offer cookies in there. Greg, why are there
Wait,
four?
I'm gonna take one Ruth and then we'll offer them to her. Yes.
That's where they get off.
Did you want me to
For
pass
I
them
mean,
down?
they're not high numbers.
Oh, no, they're just under the map.
Oh, please
They're-
take them.
They're not being hidden.
Well,
Voila.
it's only sweets.
Well, just in case some of them were too big and somebody wanted to cut them in half.
Some of them are gigantic. They look like mini burgers.
This looks like. Macaroon.
Took a big.
Yes, they only make them once a year.
Supposed to give it. I'd like to call the public hearing to order, the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town of Canaan Falls Village, 6:37, 6:36?
6:35.
6:35.
My cell phone goes.
I love it. 6:35. Public hearing for the annual renewal of Century Aggregates, 75 Sand Road Quarry.
Do you know, do you want to read in the notes?
Now that I've just put a piece of cookie in my mouth. Good timing. For the record, state that the applicant has submitted a completed application. There is this site map in front of us. I have received a certified mail receipts, a full application payment summary. The copy of the addresses with the notices of the abutters and a public ad was published twice in our local paper, the Republic of American. Now that I've swallowed that, I turn it over to the applicant. Who's recused himself for the purpose of the minutes.
Stephen. That's all.
So thank you all. We've all kind of been through this before, but we'll go through it pretty quickly here. The application as required by the town for a special permit for quarrying requires a bunch of items. They had filed in town hall. Dave, if you've never seen it, it's somewhere in town hall. This Century Aggregates, it's a mine land use plan, so it's a life of mine. So that'll cover us from, we bought it in 2005 or 6 until, a few hundred years from now. But I'm sure within a few hundred years, maybe we'll update the file, but I won't be around to do that. But some of the stuff that you can find in here is the existing topography, the mining map, the areas to be mined, the areas to propose for excavation, will just show you the ultimate boundaries, the restoration plan, which in essence will be a lake that's a long way off. The proposed truck access to the quarry, which still remains in the same spot as when we purchased it. To note on that, we did widen it and make it two-way with better site plan that was last year, but it's worked out really well. So we're happy that we made that investment. It's all that. Locations and types of buildings, it's all on that. And we no longer, there was a requirement for proposed fencing and signage, as Ruth will remember from a long time ago in a land far, far away, but those have now expired. So a description of the proposed activities, in essence, we'll cut the timber off, we'll strip any organics and soil off the top of the stone. We'll drill the stone. The holes will be bore tracked and laser profiled by our blasting contractor, which means that they know exactly where in space they are relative to open face and to each other, so that they have the best control of that explosive as they can. At this point, they'll load them. We make a mailing to those in the neighborhood in the town that have requested over the years. They propose days, we'll narrow it down to 3 days in the mailing. And then those that would like a phone call, we will call and narrow it down to like a 15-minute window. So that they will know when the blast.
Curious, how many people wanna call?
I think we probably have about 15 people.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So what we do, like, there's definitely surrounding, and then over the years, a few people a little bit distance away like to know. And it's, you just kind of customize it. I have a few people that just want to text in the morning to say, hey, we'll be blasting sometime today. And so it's worked out well, no complaints. So we'll shut down Sand Road from just south of the quarry to the old Kaufman entrance, purely out of extreme caution and safety to the public. We'll detonate the blast. The blaster in charge will keep the road closed until the blaster in charge releases traffic after surveying the instrumentation. It's all computerized, so she'll know exactly that everything is gone and when it went, but she'll also do a visual check. We open up traffic, and that's the blasting sequence. From there, we probably plan on being about a 350,000 tons a year production, which is going to be down a little bit. We have no hazardous materials on the site. The traffic flow, years past, it's always been about a 75% north, 25% south ratio. It seems to have been changed this year for reasons I can't explain, just where customers come from. So I think maybe now it's more like a 65, 35, 65% going north on Sand Road, 35% of south. Great news, we did increase our rail usage this year, so I'm super excited by that. As I've noted in years past, each train car takes the place of 4 tractor trailers. So 8 trips up and down the road by one single car, and we usually send them out in bunches. So really, really big help on traffic. I would ask for the same proposed hours of operations that we've had since we opened, which would be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday for operations. We did not run any Saturdays again in 24. We don't necessarily anticipate it in 25, but we like to have that in case, because we're a completely market-driven company. And, years past, we needed to do that. Thankfully, in the last few years, we have not, but we would like that option to remain the same. We still do the best we can with dust. It was an extremely hard year this year, being so dry in the fall, but we still turned on the misters and had a pretty regular sweeping schedule. Right now, with the rain we just had, it's a little bit mucky out there, but when it dries up, as an example, we'll sweep again here. And when's it going to dry? First, we couldn't get any rain, and now it doesn't seem to want to stop. Going quickly, I think that's also equipment on site. We're not going to be expanding any equipment, but we have like 4 loaders. We run 1, 2, 3 typically daily, with a spare, couple different size excavators for different purposes. We do have a rock truck that will bring stone from the process yard across the street to the railroad siding to stockpile to load the train, and some small ancillary equipment like a skid steer to clean up around the plant. And so really, oh, I didn't go over the area. So the area is, as I've said in years past, it's such a tall face, it doesn't move acres very much. But we finished up, or we'll be finishing up Thursday. Area on the west side, a little trim area we did to widen it out, and that will be complete. So everything again will be going north towards the direction of Concord. If you guys want to look at the map, you're welcome to look.
You brought it in that 1/8 for us.
Yeah, yeah. So the area in Council Red is the proposed area for 2025. So it's always, we're allowed up to 5 surface acres, which we will never even come close to doing, but that's, we always denote 5, so it gives us some flexibility if changes and we have to change direction a little bit, it gives us plenty of room to do so. And that's really all I have. If there's any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Yeah, in past years, you've had to do some sort of face work where you had to take some, I think they're called benches back to make sure some of the faces were proper. Is there any more of that work that needs to be done?
It's done concurrently
As we go
move
down
along. So
the
yeah,
stretch.
so like right
Right.
now, there are 3 benches and it eventually, actually in the next few years in an area will be down to two benches because the rock is shipping down pretty quickly as you go north.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Curiosity, how often is there blasting?
Typically about once a month. It's about 10 blasts a year. About once a month. This year there was like I said, I did a little area that we've never been in before. We just needed to widen out an area. So there was a bunch of small blasts. So this past year there might have been 12 total.
You say subcontractor blasting.
Correct. Main drilling and blasting.
Greg, just as the industry goes, does your company get what they want out of this site as a business?
Yeah, it's a very, very good site. for
Well, I
us.
mean, it could be one of these labors of love sort of things, but
Yeah,
obviously.
it's an
successful.
extremely expensive endeavor to
Mm.
remove the rock. We feel blessed, but our machinery doesn't, about the quality and the hardness and the wear factor on our wear steels is pretty darn high.
Greg, I think for Tim's knowledge and maybe anybody else. Can you explain how this is regulated, that it's not regulated by us?
Which part? I'm sorry.
It's blasting.
The blasting part, yeah, it's state, it falls under the state fire marshal of Connecticut, so there's. Connecticut licensing, they each blast look at a blast permit from the fire marshal, which is Stan McMillan and Sharon. So look at every blast, there'll be a permit pulled from the office. It's all before you dig. It's hard to believe this quarry's been in operation since the late 1800s, and we still have to call before you dig every time that we blast, but it's just a box that you have to check, so and that's main drilling and blasting is a very highly regarded professional outfit, and we're still very happy with their services, so we've signed on for 2025 again.
Has there ever been an accident or anything?
Not with this company. Years past, we did have some rock leave the property, and that's why we now use main drilling. So, they use the absolute latest, best available technology. So
You say roughly you mean,
yeah, when you blast, it went onto some neighboring property. It was not a good thing, but thankfully no property damage, no physical, no bodily damage or anything. Yeah. But it's pretty interesting to me. They're now flying drones to profile faces so they can tell you where every nook and cranny is on the exposed face. Because the importance is to know how far your explosive is, how much rock you have to that open face, so that it's a very calculated math formula, but they have very specific formulas. So they predict before they blast, and I'll get to one thing. They predict before they blast the vibration to the nearest structure, and they're always like textbook on. It's amazing. And that's one thing we do is we monitor all the surrounding properties that a third party tells us that we should monitor. for vibration. And it's measured, the weakest building element is plaster. So that's a line in your graph, and we need to remain below that line, which we easily have done since day one, but everything is monitored, and the blast company also puts out their own seismographs to, that's the world we live in. They have to protect themselves, and we do it to protect the neighborhood.
Any other questions? Public questions?
Again, Greg, it's 5 surface acres, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's why. And again, thanks for bringing the maps down. We bring them to the public, walk in one morning and look.
It's been a long time since I did it. Happy to do it.
So call the public hearing closed, to adjourn the public hearing,
Motion.
a motion to adjourn the public hearing,
I'll make the motion.
second,
Ruth and Buzz.
all in favor?
Okay.
6:49.
You know what's wild, Red? When you think of how much you know about your food and little, and then when you think of a bomb hitting your hand.
It's scary. The amount of power is amazing.
This is get folded or?
Yeah,
Nobody
that'll
else on them.
fold.
No,
we just
I have this one for the file and I'll fold that one as well. On a roll. So do you want me to save this copy for your records?
So we can put that in there. All right, so I'll Zoom. Thank you, Stephen.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you.
What do you say, 6:49, regular meeting?
Yes.
We call to order approval of minutes from our November 19th.
And then at 6:49 to the web.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one of those things.
Do you, before we do the minutes, do you want to seat Mark for anybody? Kim, Fred,
Yes, we motion to shoot Mark the Fred.
make a motion?
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Matt,
No.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome, Mark.
Anyways,
Approve minutes of our regular meeting, November 19th, 2024.
oh,
Stephen makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Rude second. Any discussion on those minutes? Those finely worded minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed? Abstain, so carried. Thank you. Public comments. New business, I will open it, and of course, I'm gonna abstain from any discussion on it, but the annual renewal for Century Aggregates located at 75 Sand Road Quarry. Stephen, if there's any discussion, feel free
Perfect.
to chair it out.
Any discussion about we sort of brought it up last year. Is there a way that we can do this format where we don't have to go through all of this every year? Do we still feel that this is very important? That there is a special exemption and a special permitting needed for this process?
So I'm glad you're bringing this up, Stephen, because I do remember having this discussion last year. According to the regulations in the quarry zone, and correct me if any of this further informs the commission that I have not read through. The quarry zone just requires that a permit has to be renewed or extended by the commission. It doesn't explicitly state that it has to go to a public hearing. So annually, we might need to motion as a commission, the full body, to renew the permit. In accordance, it's page 29 of the regulations. It just states no permit shall be renewed or extended. No operations may proceed beyond the 1-year projection until A, the operator demonstrates that the excavation already completed conforms with the approved plan, or B, a 1-year projection and a new site plan with commission approval, a revised site plan showing any changes have occurred in the prior year have been approved. So as staff would suggest that we just move into the regular cadence of bringing it before the commission. If complaints come up, I would certainly suggest for the public good to bring it to a hearing, making sure that when we do get changes, we do have a map so that we have it on record. But annually, if we can move more into just putting it on our agenda and on the calendar for an approval rather than the full public hearing. I know it costs the town money to put the 2 ads out, and it certainly costs the applicant money to put the public notices to all the abutters. If
Is there anything you do know that you would be doing differently if you didn't have? I mean, so basically, all this research and this, you do anyway. So it just seems to me it becomes more.
So I mean, I want to make sure we're on the record. So what you just did now, what you've done, what you plan to do, you would be doing that regardless of what.
Yeah, so, but he would also be presenting it to us,
Yeah, no,
not in the, a public
saying-
hearing at the
yeah,
first,
so
so
I'm
all
saying-
this information will still
so
be
as long
provided.
as we're seeing it,
Yeah,
so there's some. I'm just looking to cover everybody here.
yeah,
So, yeah, I think that's what we should do. We need a motion for that.
Having a public hearing, I mean, it
It's-
makes it even, I mean, this is a serious, a dangerous operation that you do a tremendously good job controlling. I think it's in our interest to let everybody, if they want to know. I mean.
so it's on
what
the
do we say?
agenda.
You know,
it would
15
still be
minutes?
part of our meeting. It would still be, public comment would still be part of our meeting. I think we're just trying to take a step out because 25 years ago, 24 years or whatever that was, or 05, so 20 years ago, when they purchased it, it was part of the arrangement of the agreement for the process. So that's why we had to do this. It's called a special event, special
Special
permit.
permit,
So it's
yeah.
a special permit rather than just.
But what we're talking
Renewal.
about is eliminating the public hearing. Everything else is the same.
So it wouldn't be a special permit, it would just be permitted under the quarry zone. And he would need to come once a year in December to still present
Do the
what,
same thing.
yes.
I would think, I mean, I'm okay with it. I would think that if, and I don't think it would ever happen, but if Century were to sell or give up, we need to revert back to the full process, public hearing, whatnot, with the new company, let's say, coming in. So we're not just changing the process altogether, but it's relevant to our experience with Century.
Well, that would be my one question, Janelle. If we change it for the quarry, are we changing it just for Century Aggregates? No, we would change it for
So
the
it's
quarry itself.
So there's nothing potentially changing. The regulations still read as they read. It's just the way that regulations have been interpreted. My understanding is that there was a requirement due to the fact that there was a lawsuit that required Century, prior to Century actually acquiring the quarry, that they came before this commission, a stipulation of that lawsuit. And that, to my understanding, has been completely fulfilled. And we have just followed with that status quo, even though with careful read of the regulation, we're not required to do so. So in the event that the ownership were to change, there are processes for special permit applications for quarries. But if it's no change in the actual use of the property and it's just a change of ownership, much like any other special permit, we wouldn't necessarily have the jurisdiction to say, you now have to come back. There's always remedies if there's complaints, if there's, whether it's noise or fire marshal issues, we certainly have the possibility to look at not renewing because the renewal is a stipulation within the regulation. So in the event that they were to change and the renewal were to come up, we could certainly say, listen, because you are a new property owner, we would like this renewal period for you to bring us all the application requirements as stated on page 28 of the regulations. So we actually, every single year, regardless of who's operating, still need to renew quarries. This is my experience in many towns. Quarries raised a lot of angst in residential properties, so we are requiring annual renewals.
That's one of the reasons I think to keep it as open as. I don't understand what we're trying to eliminate the public hearing. But we're
Correct.
doing everything else the same.
Correct.
The
It's the
public hearing-
process of the public
And
hearing.
the process of public hearing is what you pointed out, saving a little money for, easily saving a little money for. But as Century, do you feel it's better to have a public hearing? Can you comment like that?
Don't really want to comment much about it. I'm good with whatever process the commission chooses. We are 100% will comply happily.
Well, let's think about how many people have attended over the last, 5 years to the public? No one. No one from the public.
So the permit's up for renewal every single year, regardless of who's operating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And. Do we wanna table the discussion? Do we wanna keep talking about this part of it? Or do we wanna actually say we don't wanna do a public hearing and just have it be part of our normal?
I'm trying to remember, Greg, the very beginning of this. We had lawyers here and wasn't that,
Any young guy, where did he go?
yeah, so wasn't that one of the things that was. That's when we started doing the public hearing.
Well, right, and it predated Century, went back to Red Wing.
Yes, okay,
And
and
who we purchased it from,
right, okay.
who was this?
I remember that was a very emotional meeting. Am I remembering this?
Oh, yeah, no, they were.
In the last century. So, but Alice's point is well taken. A lot of that was because it was transferring and because there were people who wanted to basically shut down the quarry. You know, all that kind
Well,
of.
and they
and
wanted
that-
to, they were neighbors that wanted to make sure that they were being protected. So I think it was very smart to
Well,
make sure
but
that
none
this
of
was
that-
presented
none
in a
of-
proper way.
All the things that Century Aggregate has done has eliminated
Completely.
all those things, so I don't see why we don't just make this, get rid of
The special permit.
yeah, I don't see, especially after Janelle read that. I didn't know it was so easy to, do this.
So let's make a motion. To eliminate
So I don't know what the language.
I
Janelle,
think
I
we're,
would just say to eliminate the standard operating procedure of having a public hearing annually for Century Aggregates
Right.
regarding the quarry. We will still have the renewal pursuant to the regulations annually.
That's it. I make that motion.
so said, I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
I. That was
Mark's
easy,
eye too.
Vincent.
Aye.
So we're gonna eliminate the standard operating procedure of having an annual public hearing for Century Aggregates for operation of the quarry. That motion was made by Vincent, seconded by Drew, and unanimous by all.
I would
All
just
good?
make sure in the minutes, it does say annual renewal will
Yeah.
still be required
Yeah.
by the commission.
December annual
Yeah.
renewal.
Yeah,
And it does say that at any given time, the applicant can provide other information requested by the commission. So in the event that there is an ownership change, we do have stipulations in the regulations that safeguard us in the event that we do want an updated site plan to amend hours of operations, equipment, and otherwise.
Required and heard at, December annual renewal will still be required and heard at the regular meeting.
Mm.
Okay,
And I'd like to at least say thank you, because it's been wonderful to be here over the 20 years and to be here for part of the Red Wing and part of the issues and the process of the owners coming together to try to make it right. So thank you for living up to your end of it. And thank you for all the neighbors that made sure that you were going to do it. So thank you.
you were in
Everyone should
short
go
kings
great.
then, right?
So an action still needs to be made to approve the permit.
Yeah,
And that's a roll call.
Oh, we have to do it individually? Oh, sorry.
No,
For this annual.
Oh,
This
oh,
one,
for this,
public
Public
hearing.
hearing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was.
yeah. Good point.
so, I make a motion to, can
Approve the application.
approve the application for, the calendar year 2025 of Century Aggregates, 75, Sand Road Quarry.
A second.
And then we have to go around individually, so Ruth,
I approve.
good,
Yes.
Matt
Matt
seconded.
seconded it.
Sorry, I was very quiet. I think so, yeah.
Mark,
I've said it to Steve. Everybody else.
unanimous.
No, she was traveling, there was an email. I
Yeah.
think it was right ahead or right after, right?
Yeah.
all right, thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Chris, and moving on to item B. Very exciting thing to discuss tonight, 107 Main Street. And our plenary discussion, Janelle, do you want to give us a little
Um,
lead in?
just in brief, I have corresponded with the prospective tenant. Just very briefly, the interesting thing in our regulations, in our zone, we require municipal buildings to come before the commission as a special permit. So just a thing that we have come across in our regulations is a little bit unique. And I think in having a preliminary discussion, we just wanted to invite that prospective tenant here so that there's no shock with what that special permit procedure will entail, and also just to hear from them if they have any zoning questions, concerns, or otherwise.
So thank you, Janelle.
You're welcome.
So, what we try to do with planning and zoning is to get the public hearing for tonight. But unfortunately, it all happened too close to the meeting and we didn't have enough date, calendar days to get the notice to the public that we need to do this. So we wanted to make sure that, we'll do that. We're still trying to figure out as soon as we can. Or so you know that box is checked right there. But coming in tonight, it's just allows the commission to kind of hear the plan and answer any questions. So that when it comes to the public hearing, hopefully it's we open the meeting, you kind of witness the end of a public hearing. And then the commission will vote on it, yay or nay, and then that will be done, so that there's no surprises where we don't have to then ask the question, which you may not have the answer to, and we have to, table the meeting and push it out. So it's a big help for us, these preliminary discussions. So thank you, Cindy.
Sure, thanks for reminding us.
So Janelle, do you think just kind of a quick overview maybe of the plans?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak for them.
No, I know.
So,
Just introduce ourselves. So I'm Liz Ives and this is my husband Howie Ives. Live in Salisbury and we applied to rent the building across the street for purposes of a breakfast and lunch place. Kind of like we just started going there and it closed and we just were looking for something, for more places to eat. Both of us are in the food business and have worked in the food business. And we're excited, and I know it is town property, and it's historical as well. Judy's been very great about communicating that. I know it used to be called Citizens Hall, so we'd like to tie in like the Appalachian Trail, the river, and the fact that it's, is a part of the historical district as well, so. But I'll let you speak as well.
So everything that she just went off, I grew up in this area. I lived in Salisbury for over 20 years. Lived in Falls Village for probably 5 years in the early 90s. We both just fell in love with the cafe right before it closed. We're both foodies, kind of a passion of ours. I've worked over across the river at LeBon's for going on 31 years. I'm in the food business. I run a meat and seafood department, very high end. So I have a pretty good backing with all that. And we want to keep things pretty much the way it was. Breakfast and lunch is kind of the only thing we're really going to attack in the beginning. Kind of hometown, comfortable vibe is what we're looking for. I'm a passionate hiker. The name that we're steering it for is Off the Trail Cafe. Appalachian Trail running through this town. It also goes to Salisbury. It's kind of a, route north. And it's really all we got between. We're thinking about also supplies for hikers, pretty basic stuff. It could be rolls of duct tape, socks,
Energy bars.
energy bars, just any kind of stuff.
Rope for the food for the bears.
Anything like that. The community
Your fair.
don't let you know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
The word gets out, some of the nicest people you'll ever meet, really. That's it. If anybody
great.
has any questions for us.
Did you have any sign ideas of what you may want? I didn't realize this might be early, but there, we do have
So,
some sign.
yeah, we had
restrictions.
heard that, about the sign, we had nothing really figured out besides the window stuff.
Okay.
Did the previous owner have signage?
Do you want size?
So I don't know if there anything
Yeah.
would be, if there's a spot that you would think or something.
Yeah, they did.
They had a sign.
So was it in front
They
of
had the
building or
light
was it-
sign.
Inside.
Yeah, it was the big neon sign.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think on the outside.
The one actually on the fireplace.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so
In the window.
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't realize any of that, like something inside would be part of.
I forgot about that.
Well, it's visual from the public right of way.
Okay.
So,
Window.
yeah, I mean, I look at typically as far as like the 32 square feet that the regulations require. I would look at that as like what's on the facade,
Yeah.
what's on your overall building.
Yeah.
Really for signage, the regulations are quite generous in size. So if you do run into issue with the size sign that you're looking for, certainly I would just suggest before you like go to an actual sign person to fabricate your sign, just to make sure that you send it this way so that we make sure that you're not spending money on getting a sign fabricated that doesn't comply. But it's really straightforward in that zone for non-residential uses. I believe it's 32 square feet. And I think Liz and I have communicated.
I did imagine, but not so much a sign, but maybe the map from Springer to Maine of the Appalachian.
Oh,
Trail.
yeah, that's,
But that would be just kind of decor,
of course, yeah.
not something neon, blink, blink.
Lots blinking.
Plans yet, hang on, I know it's very early yet, I'm assuming we'll have a website. So will it be order out as well as in?
Would be picked up,
Yeah,
probably not delivery.
yeah, we don't know anything.
Yes, you can order. Who knows the extent of it, online ordering, or if it would be call in.
What's interesting is with what you're proposing, you'll brand it however, and it'll become, a little sign, big sign. It's not gonna be hard to find.
Yeah.
If it's good.
Yes. Yeah.
What I'm excited about is the back one, is that. I can't wait for that high-end fish. But I think that's what it needs, because your business is not gonna just come from Tolsville to, you won't stay in business that way. You'll have to draw from the other towns, and you will grow from the other towns, if you can deliver on your experience to provide food that's special, and people will come.
Something else I did is I talked to Annie and Greg from Toy Makers Cafe at Judy's suggestion. I actually went to their house and met with them like maybe a month and a half ago. This was all just following a dream kind of a thing, but they were so cool and I got her cookbook and asked if we did indeed get selected, if they would be willing to come in and sort of guest chef, or I can feature the recipes.
So fun.
They have a few in their book that I think, we could work with and would be cool. So they 100% want to do that. And she said that she would actually blast it out to her Facebook followers and stuff. And I use, the coffee has been like a huge, so this is terrible. I'm a Dunkin' Donuts girl. I do like a latte every once in a while, but I'm not a hard, cappuccino latte person, but people have all been weighing in on the coffee and I had planned after some research to use Barrington coffee, but I'm open to listening to suggestions if you guys have suggestions, but if that's too divisive, we won't get into it. I'll just do it, what we're gonna do.
I just think it's important to have the right prices,
Okay,
highest quality. And I think it's important to possibly offer something to the town workers or the other,
Mhm.
so they get some kind of a discount that is a ticket. There's lots of ways to do it. But somehow you offer something special to those people,
Okay,
so they're not always going and eating the worst food in town,
okay,
which may be the only.
I understand, yeah.
So along with planning and.
Yeah, to bring us
sometimes I
back.
Give you some,
Yeah.
Paninis and Zeppelin.
A big thing, and I apologize, I'm just looking for our regulations and sometimes I struggle, but I know Janelle can help me with this. There's parking, as a commission, as part of this, we have to speak about parking. And obviously, there's no change from the applicant from what was there before. But our answer on the parking
It'd be a
is,
change based on the floor plan.
okay,
So the expectation for the special permit, and I'll certainly work with both of you, would just be a simple floor plan. So showing where you're envisioning the tables, and don't feel like if you happen to have seen the floor plan to the last iteration of the cafe that you can't change anything. Essentially just a floor plan and then your signage. Cause I don't see any other material changes to the structure of the building changing at this time.
I mean, they did a great job.
Yeah.
Grade there.
Yeah.
I do need an oven though, so we're working on it.
Yeah.
Nice
Yeah.
oven.
And then, of course, as far as the parking requirements go, there's two ways we could look at this. One, and it's our regulations, there's not a perfect fit. We do have restaurant, cocktail lounge, and tavern, which is a bit of a stretch, one space for 2 seats. That seems quite meager. And then we do have for all other uses, one space for 250 square feet of your gross floor area, and I would look at that as being your publicly used area. So if you look at 250 square feet of what's grossly being used by the public, so not so much anything of the kitchen or anything that's off limits, because your storage is going to take up space and your lovely meats that you bring in is going to be in our big refrigerator, but really where the public will be coming in, if you can sort of use that as your parking equation. So it's just one for every 250. And as far as parking in the village district goes, it's interesting because our regulations do state for multiple uses in the case that there's more than one use of a building or a lot, that consideration for sort of shared facilities is there. So within the village business district, it reads adequate parking shall exist or may be made available to serve all buildings erected, moved, altered or enlarged with approval of the commission be provided in the village business district by use of existing on-street parking spaces and or the establishment of new on-street parking spaces, especially on Main Street or Railroad Street. So the cafe, the past iteration used our on-street parking, and we just envision that being a carryover.
Okay.
so we mention it because it's a requirement.
Yeah, just so you're,
As part of the process.
We have the biggest parking problem.
Then we'll do-
We talked about signage, I was just thinking, the signs that I see on Route 7 look like temporary. I know when they open. Is that part of something that zoning takes care of that?
it's not
Or is that
authorized.
a temporary?
Yeah, that's not,
Cause they did use to
It's
have
really
a
not a-
playmaker sign out, seven there.
They had something up at the corners.
Yeah,
Corners.
Four-way.
Right.
Couple of signs, so temporary banner sign.
yeah.
yeah,
It's not.
it's, if we, yeah, if there's a complaint, then we would have to take it on.
It's would be the only, well, there's several signs.
Correct, you're not wrong. There's been no,
They bring people to town, so I'm not.
I,
Yes, but yeah, we have no say over it, but we have to do something, someone
It
says.
just sort of happens in the night.
Anything else that you want to, what, what's your goal for open?
I mean,
We're hoping for February first.
yeah,
So we can cover this at our January meeting and we're not.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that would.
right.
She's like in town, so.
should we target January for our new?
Judy, if we do our January meeting, that's okay with the Board of Selectmen, that gives you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So yes,
okay.
which the date would be. I'm sorry.
Oh, we just had it. I had it right here.
January. For 23rd? Thursday, January 23rd. That's what I have.
Nope,
Correct me
you're
if
right.
I'm wrong.
Nope, I got it too.
Okay.
Oh, Eileen's not here either. I just.
Yeah.
missed her.
Yeah, Chris.
Surgery.
Oh, we did? Okay.
Yeah.
23rd.
Yeah.
Great, anything further from any commissioners?
I was asking about Eileen.
No, thanks for all your effort finding someone and
Yeah.
bringing
Yeah.
it to courage and
And thank you
Wonderful.
for,
Yeah.
thank you for being proactive and just reaching out and just
He's not.
the
Yeah.
free flow of information is always welcome.
well, and
That's
we're
why I
the
asked
customers
you
too, and like you
Just
hear
sit in.
would like for, what
What
do you call grab and go? So we'll respect that and have that, make that easier so people can grab and go and.
I can't tell you how disappointed I left a meeting here and I walked outside and there were about 6 bikers
Yeah.
wanting coffee. And they breezed into town and the cafe was closed and they like
Yeah.
literally, I thought one of them was gonna scream.
We sent them all to hang out with Judy. Thank you both so much and best of luck and.
Yeah, thank you.
thanks for making the effort.
Alright.
You really.
Please.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'll be in touch with both of you just so we make sure the town does a public ad notification that's a requirement, and then there's a requirement for letters to your abutters. I'm more than happy to help with getting you that list.
Okay.
It's just a requirement that we all have to do, even this guy, for our last public hearing, so we'll just make sure that we do all the requirements that we have to in advance of the next meeting, but we do have time, and you are both available for that Thursday, January 23rd?
Yeah.
Okay, we just wanna
We'll
make
make it
sure,
happen.
okay, we just wanna make sure,
Public hearing, right?
yeah,
Public hearing.
But we'll start at the regular.
I was just gonna
so
say.
we'll start at 6:30.
6:30.
Okay. And that's, you guys have a nice public website where it's very easy to
We
locate.
hope so.
Yeah, that's nice. Is there anything else you'd recommend we do? Should I reach out to like the owner of the Falls Village Inn? Do you have any recommendations or just, we really are only planning on being open during the day hours, so
In my opinion, the more you reach out, the better.
the better. Okay. Will do.
Approvals in place to get an article in the Lakeville Journal.
Yeah,
We'll make sure that happens.
okay. Yeah, that sounds great. It's great to meet you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We can't wait to enjoy.
Planning and zoning thing.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Can I have a sugar cookie, Matt?
Sure.
Just so you can touch it.
Are they hanging out?
Steve, you could touch it.
Oh,
I have
just-
Well, no, I want you to pick your perfect sugar cookie. I
No.
want to have donut.
Oh, I have a gingerbread
think
man
you-
shirt.
I think you
am
need that.
I'm
at my
checking
back.
him.
I appreciate it, so.
Well, no, it's wonderful. Very exciting.
Want to say, stay away from the Oregon and coffee. They generally need to discuss them.
And,
I don't like your thing, your thing.
just what you're.
Hey, well.
Good thinking so.
No, I can't.
I love coffee. I like it. Black and I was still.
Barrington's fine,
Together.
and then, so, which was 5 beans.
Something really bothers this.
She said,
So why don't you tell them, don't do that?
Well, I was.
You can't go off that, because they brew it wrong.
Very nice.
Yeah.
In other words.
They don't brew it right.
Out of.
Thank you.
Can you pass me your mom?
No, he's had that.
I think-
very-
yeah. I think they don't do it right.
All right.
You know? I can share one.
There should be. We don't. Should have, I think I have a.
You know what? I'm actually, I'll make me a copy.
Yeah, you have two right in front of you, right there.
She does a much better job.
Aren't those two right there? Let's see, yeah, so there it is, we have it already. Doug did, that's it.
That's right.
Good.
So,
I can't, look at that first.
Don't worry, I couldn't do the.
Alright, so P and Z monthly financial report review from town treasurer, so this is November. To back up a little bit on the financial part, I we were asked as a commission to show up at the Board of Finance and report on the planning and zoning needs and requirements and where we are and what we're doing. We did that. I think it went well. Stephen, thank you, and Doug and Eileen and myself. So I think we presented well. I feel like we were heard. And I think it's a positive step forward.
And
Yeah, definitely. Working between different boards and commissions in town and learning about each other. So I was impressed with that. So with that being said, in this, and I don't have the copy that I brought to that meeting, but we're like 40% into the fiscal year and we're like 29% spent. So actually, Kevin's there. Should be getting Kevin. So we're financially, we're doing well. We'll be covering this every month just so everybody can see. As noted last month, these numbers don't quite correspond to the actual timetable, like Janelle tracks very closely, so I see the tracking of it, but they're in the neighborhood. So
I'm not following what
I can't explain why they're not, even though this says through November 24. I don't know their accounting system, so there's actually more spent here than shows. But I can't tell you why, but it's not in danger or something more. They just don't, the numbers on our ends just haven't quite lined up. It's pretty accurate summation.
Do we know what's been billed to miscellaneous? Just
I'll ask that question. I do not.
the publication expense looks far too much like a very round number for the way that the Republican American charges. That number just looks too perfect.
what's the dollar?
0.
That's the whole
29.
500?
Oh, the 500.
Yeah.
Put in your budget.
Oh, gotcha.
Do I have to cancel my meeting with you guys?
I'll go and report a selectman. They have a lot of money.
Okay.
They have power. They got it reinstated. Anything.
Oh, wait, Dave made that.
So public expansion, expense is 0.
The budget
November,
she's talking
So
about.
that's.
Yeah, cause.
There should be a publication expense.
Yeah, cause we've charged and I always forward those immediately,
Yeah.
so I'm a little,
So that's being charged somewhere.
okay.
So how are
Thank you.
these
Check your
numbers
budget.
generated then? If you can't figure out how are these generated? I'm not understanding.
I can't answer that. I'm handed them from the treasurer.
Yeah, but isn't it based on what we give them?
That would be my understanding.
That's what's wrong with the system.
But Stephen, I don't know, you've been following along too. I don't know if you.
Yeah, they're working the system out. Yes,
So it's just,
yeah, and
Is that still just
there's
Mark?
catch up, they switched over to QuickBooks, so it's the big learning curve is still going.
Okay,
Yeah, it could just be a lapse, so I'm assuming these
Yes.
numbers are gonna change.
Yeah, these numbers can change at any time
Okay,
once
but
those lines get.
The big
addressed.
numbers of our CEO and our consultant engineer lines are. They're not
I
dangerous.
wasn't fiddling with that. What I was thinking is we do the input and this is supposed to be based on what we gave them.
Yeah, actually, I've seen secretary doesn't have any charges against him in here.
Yeah, me too. Alice may.
And we know, I actually
She just.
don't even, yeah, I did.
She's very generous
No, no,
every
no,
time.
I did.
Rick, do you as the chair oversee our numbers? Our report?
Say that one more time.
Do you, I mean, we don't have a treasurer, we don't have those positions, so do you, is that one of your roles to oversee?
Yeah,
So I
so I
assume you're
approve-
seeing invoices go
I
to the
approved all the
treasurer.
invoices.
Yeah. So we know actual numbers,
Yeah,
it's just not here
the
tonight.
only invoices I don't see are Alice's.
Well, so I made sure that I gave it to Michelle before the end of the fiscal year, so that was this invoice through May 29th. And and the one you just paid me for, I did not submit to her until December 4th. So if this is through November,
Oh, so that's.
Yeah.
so this would be minus 640. So this one I did for the fiscal, like, I'm not gonna do one a month and make her write a check, that's like a waste of her time. So, but I made sure I got this in before June 30th for that fiscal year. And then this one was just submitted, but not till December 4th.
Yeah.
And that was for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sets of minutes.
I guess my point was just so we're aware where we're at.
Yeah,
Not
and that's why I
necessarily-
want, yeah, and this is why I wanted to make a change and everybody's, there's P and L every month is.
Yeah, it's good.
As you can see, I didn't know it's miscellaneous and. I guess I was concerned mostly about the two lines and I didn't really look at the publication expense being zero.
Yeah, it's confusing.
So, we'll work, I'll work with Michelle and try to get more answers moving forward.
What's clerical, does that kind of fall into secretary, I'm assuming? Does that fall into you, Alex?
No, I don't think.
Oh, I think clerical, I think we sort of. I'd have to ask Fred.
Okay.
I'd have to discuss it with him, but I don't remember quite the answer.
It might have been, like you said, trying to hold the budget line. So that in case we went over, maybe on secretarial, because we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe it was to print things, print up all the
Yeah.
labels or
Yeah.
something, maybe that
And the
was the
cards, you
clerical.
guys make cards.
Cards,
Cards.
application expense, but that's.
So maybe if we make the mailer, maybe that's clerical.
Was it more because we had the P O C D before, so we kept the line item? Because we never used, I don't know.
I just, you know, when you said this is, I was trying to understand this, so we don't really know it. When we have to submit for the budget, then what happens?
I have very clear numbers.
Yeah, well, our big numbers, we know down to a penny.
Okay,
It's these other lines, you
Yeah.
know,
okay.
in publications, maybe it's being pulled out of a different, I don't know.
Would it make sense to make this an agenda item, monthly or quarterly?
Yeah, that's
We will.
every month.
But, I mean, discussion with invoices coming in and rather. At least have a fair idea what. Well, you can.
Anything else on it? No, moving on, so. I've made a good point, there is a very, I think, important meeting on 7:30. From the Affordable Housing Trust. I would like to have. Not interrupted our meeting, but if anybody wanted to stick out and be part of that, I think. I'll just keep going through our agenda, but if you wanted to, feel free. I'm
Well,
hoping it's on Zoom, so I'm hoping that it's recorded and available.
Recorded too. They asked for your email so that they.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Super. Thank you, Judy. That's good. I did a little bit.
So what's going on right now?
And you can forward it to us then, so we can watch it afterwards.
Yeah, what is actually?
I think it's recorded on the back. of
Pardon?
It's about the environmental.
Yes.
The environmental study.
It's an, you know, I think.
Is the
something-
link to that, will that be posted?
It's on that Falls Village Forum page. I don't know if you're on Facebook. They did.
But it's a, right, and if it sounds like I'll be getting a copy of them, and when I do, I'll pass it to the.
Okay. Yeah, Laura, more, and she'll ensure you have a copy of the recording.
Excellent. All right, moving on to item D, dark sky implementation. As everybody's aware, we have approved section on dark sky. And there's been some discussion with the Board of Selectmen, but I think that I'd like to discuss tonight the commission's opinion. Whether we write a letter to the Board of Selectmen in support of just some awareness so we have two town-owned properties, the daycare on Page Road and Kellogg's School. With where I personally think are some light, whether it's dark sky or not, the way that it is, I think could be modified for better closer following of dark sky initiative. Especially the daycare, I feel is quite overlit late into the evening or sometimes all night maybe. And so if the commission is so inclined, I would like to put a letter to the Board of Selectmen just noting these properties. We've discussed it, but just to make it an official type of thing that we're talking to them, and I would forward them to Kellogg and to the, it's no secret here. It's just hoping that we can all work together to alleviate some of the, what I might personally consider light pollution.
Do we make recommendations like sensors and the lights?
And that's what I would recommend at the daycare. If if they want to leave a light on the building, I totally get that. Do I think the whole parking lot needs to be lit up at 10 at night? I don't think so. I have spoke to the neighbor, and another neighbor had weighed in on it as well about how different it is and how kind of obnoxious they feel that it is. That was the word in the one neighbor. I didn't make that word.
Intrusive.
So I'm hoping that, I think a timer is really the answer, stay on a couple hours past closing. I don't know.
I think that Dave spoke to Pat Care after I sent him that picture, which was, did you see the picture?
I did. I did.
He's also spoken to Ashley.
What?
He's also spoken to Ashley at the daycare.
Yeah, so
They're meeting over there.
they're gonna shut it off at 7 o'clock at
Oh,
night.
perfect. You hear that?
That's what he said.
Last time I spoke to Dave, he was
Yeah,
chatting. So maybe,
yeah,
well, maybe it's a non-issue there, but Kellogg School, I still feel like that light coming out the entrance is maybe not dark sky compliant, or B, it's something needs to be changed because it's very offensive to the neighborhood. I've heard from neighbors on that too.
there's nothing we can do about it of sorts.
Well, let's not go there yet, but so Dave did go to a meeting and he dropped me off some literature, or he picked up some literature for us on dark sky, some of the selections and whatnot. So I think it's great that we get the support of our Board of Selectmen and taking this serious. So the way I look at Eversource, they have made improvements from where they were to where they are today. Kind of going back into discussion that we had at the planning and zoning level and some of the dark sky, I feel like now that we have it passed, and if our town takes some actions in its own properties, it gives us a much better standing to reach out to Eversource and say, well, this is what we've had, this is what we've experienced, this is what we've done. We recognize that you have made a change, but what else can we do? So I think, to get our house in order.
Yeah.
And then we can maybe reach out to.
That makes sense.
It seems as though a great relationship has been being developed.
They did change the position of the lights.
Yeah.
I think there are some exemptions within being a utility that they, and ever since 9/11, that they have more security in place, and part of that is Wendy.
Yeah.
But they have changed how it's positioned, so it's not so blindishly out there.
Yeah, it's definitely better, but you know, maybe they could also go to some sort of motion on some of the lights with some on, you know, just a compromise. So,
And we have a contact of that local authority.
yeah.
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen is-
Awesome.
We walked around with him.
Awesome.
downtown,
That's
too.
awesome.
Yeah, so it's definitely going the right direction. So maybe, do you guys wanna like maybe table this for a month and see if something takes the place? Or just write the letter?
Yeah, why don't we, do we need to make a motion as a board?
I would like that, yeah.
So I make a motion that the board of the Planning and Zoning Commission writes a letter to the Board of Selectmen. Expressing the approval of the Dark Sky Initiative, and we'd like to look at the implementation to town-owned property.
So leave it a little broader. As well as maybe some examples.
And you could add to that, such as,
Yeah.
Or
just two or three things in.
so such as Kellogg School, the daycare center, and
Light,
That was it.
lighting sensors,
Excellent.
motion
No,
sensors.
no, it's not. We're gonna send it in a letter, right, official letter? To Board of Selectmen. Expressing approval of Dark Sky Initiative.
well, no, Dark Sky Initiative to do it, to begin the implementation of the Dark Sky Initiative.
Who's penning the letter?
And I'll send it out to the commission. Not, and again, I'll send it out before I send it to the Board of Selectmen, but it's not exchanged amongst each other. If you have a point, send it, please just reply to just me.
Great. Yeah, I'd love to read it before it goes to the board, just having
Sure.
done the dark sky stuff.
I assume all the lights with Eversource, that Eversource pays a bill to Eversource, right? But they know that all those
They're probably
lights, they probably could. All night.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Move second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Mark?
Aye.
Yeah, yep. If everybody so opposed, abstain, so moved. Thank you.
Yeah, we had talked about trying to reach out and make some sort of public statement of this as well.
Yeah.
I think it'd be smart to get the public dialogue going at least.
Yeah, I agree. That was on my mind when I added that to the agenda to get together some sort of, at least on the
Yeah, we hadn't
website.
really
or
figured out
maybe
how
to
to do it.
the
or what
town
we wanted to
Email
do.
chain or what, the
Yeah.
more the better.
I agree.
I'll make a little note on top of mine.
Would it be worth us putting it on the website as part, along with like where our regulations are and the other documents that?
I'm totally for that.
It might even, yeah, and just to that point, Stephen, it might even make sense to pull out the excerpt, like the one pager that we all looked at as
Oh, that's what I was
finalization.
thinking. Oh, yeah.
Rather than say, we've implemented dark sky, here are our regulations.
Yeah, no, I've got that one sheet.
Yeah, so why don't we just do like one sheet for the website?
If possible, there may be some reference that could show a before and after by best practices from other places.
We have Ruth's before picture.
Yeah. But I mean,
That night,
really speaks to
drove
what you see.
past the Kellogg School and between Eversource and the Kellogg School. I mean, you thought it was a different time of day. I mean, it was here.
It's
That's kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Like really.
another planet.
Great, and I didn't see any drones, I think we're good.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were the drone person. I was wondering if the government was aware.
Oh, yeah, so you could
Said
look at
that,
the face of your.
Yeah.
They're trying to aggregate.
It's just us. So they didn't pick it up. Just kidding.
Yeah, right.
All right, old business, Village Center parking plan. There's been, a proposal from AEA given to First Selectman Barger and shared with the Board of Selectmen and shared with the committee. And Chris Kinsella and I met with George because we had some questions as far as the quote of his part of it, the implementation and engineering. So he was going to modify it to just more fully explain what the cost would entail. So we're waiting for that update on that.
Will you distribute that when you receive it?
I will,
What was the rough cost as of now?
25,000,
Okay.
very rough. I actually had
It
it.
won't go down.
No, it will not.
It may not go down, but it may be better explained. Because at first it caught both Chris and I, and that's why we asked them.
What was that cost for?
Professional services agreement with AEA. Now, mind you, this is the Board of Selectmen, or it's not coming from planning and zoning, but we're involved as members of the sales committee in downtown for the second plan. So 22,500. So phase one, which is design, phase two, construction documentation.
There, that's an aggregate of the two phases.
Correct.
How much is the design versus implementation?
Design, phase one design was 12,000.
Yeah,
Phase two, construction documentation, 10,500.
So it's cheaper to construct it than it is to design it.
That's not super uncommon.
Mm-mm.
Okay, but they also had done previous drawings and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's
You-
not,
or
it's,
that
yeah,
don't
it's
count?
not the drawing, it's the. You know, if we push back, as we talked about, pushing into the hillside, the retaining wall structure, grades, work on that far end. So, and there's some in there, he's figured in some surveying, so there's.
It sounds lower, yeah.
Well, it sounded high to me, but as we had a discussion, which is why we had a discussion, it made more sense, so he's gonna. He'll break it down more. I think Chris's plan maybe is to bring it to the infrastructure committee and then, you know, channel it to the. Which the board is already aware, Board of Selectmen, but at least to have a better backing and understanding of it. Solar committee update, we just met last week, so we're back in action. We have a new member, Patrick Hafner, who's amazing experience in solar. That's what he does for his profession now, and so we kind of kickstarted it. Long story short, I made a challenge to our committee to try to get some solar on something in town before 2026. So that's what we're hoping to do. Everybody is
Is the-
excited to get something small is fine, just something.
Is the goal to get solar on town property that generates power on site or that is utilized off site? Because there's a really important distinction between the two types.
There is,
Mhm.
and it's a lengthy discussion in and of itself, and to be determined, we don't have enough information yet.
Got it.
There might be a possibility with the building across the street when they do the new cafe or so forth, right? And what an interesting extra promotion that would be if suddenly there was some solar on that was feeding the cafe. And
Yeah.
it would be good for everybody.
It's on the list for, so we have had ongoing discussions with Connecticut Green Bank and because I need it, it's stuck in my gray matter, another company, Titan Energy. So we just aggregated a year's worth of power bills, which is now being sent to them along with every town-owned property, and they'll quickly go through their analysis to let us know if something like that could be possible. And it's again, we could spend another 2 hours on this, but it's square area, you know, has to make sense financially to do.
And
So
if
it has to be a
doesn't, it's
certain
great
enough
for
of
the
square
owner.
area, and there certainly has to be enough area. But you know, that's kind of where we were going. If these two can't do it, maybe we find a third vendor that could do a smaller project such as as you suggested. So it's in the talk, so that's an exciting update. Old Firehouse Sale Committee update is moving along. Dave and I are meeting with attorney Emily Vale's office and whoever helps her. Thursday. to go over some sales information that we to put together for to the potential purchaser.
We're still looking at those dates that we discussed previously.
Yep. So,
We're talking about Louise.
yeah. All right, moving along, regulations review, trailer.
There's copies of the most recent draft for everyone. I think we've all looked at this many times. The last time we met, it was suggested that we refer this back to the Board of Selectmen. Because initially, this discussion came from a referral from the Board of Selectmen because of the imperfections in the existing ordinance and also how confusing it's been for implementation. Considering our two examples of recent trailers in town. So we've gone over this memo at length. It's been sent to the Board of Selectmen. They're all very much in favor. And it was also, the fee was questioned, our $350 fee, which is commensurate with what I see in a lot of towns for allowing a temporary trailer for habitation. So just in the follow-up, not much has changed. The strikeout language still is all there. Our suggested amendments start on page 2, so that's going to be section 8, our definitions. We get into all the breakdown of trailer, commercial trailer, construction trailer, mobile home versus mobile manufactured home. Both definitions tie into statutes, recreational trailer, storage trailer, and then we've shortened temporary restaurant trailer, also known as a food truck, utility trailer, which is sort of that small boat, horse, flat trailer, ag trailer that we will not be considering a zoning permit for. Then we would incorporate all of the definitions into our residential zones under our permitted principal uses. Adding special residential regulations for trailers for temporary habitation. So essentially stating that a trailer cannot occupy a residential lot as the primary use, except if the temporary use has been approved on the subject lot for a very specific, limited and temporary period of time, so that a primary structure may be established. The approval for the temporary trailer has to be approved by zoning permit and also Torrington Area Health District. We also get into accessory uses. So oftentimes our storage trailers, our utility trailers, and our recreational trailers would fall into accessory uses. The question did come up about recreational trailers. So for example, I forget who brought up this question, but it was really interesting about, you know, what if I have like a friend who sadly, like, his house burnt down and he comes and pulls his trailer into my property. This as an accessory use enables that sort of situation. So in the event that there ever was, you have family in town for an indeterminate amount of time, that there is an avenue for a recreational trailer to be used for human habitation by zoning permit as an accessory structure. So I know that came up because at first we were only doing temporary trailers for habitation when somebody is building a home. So this builds in even more flexibility. We get into commercial trailers being in our business and industrial zones, construction trailers as well, storage trailers, and then also our concept of food trucks, allowing that in our business and industrial zones as well. And then I see you might have a thought.
Unrelated.
Okay.
Whatever it was, the thought was.
And then also adding outdoor dining or the use of a temporary restaurant trailer to be permitted where there's where it's accessory to a permissible use. So example, if there's an established small business and they want to have their trailer that comes by to allow for that. And then a rural business zone, same commercial trailer, construction trailer, storage trailers, adding our temporary restaurant trailers, not only as a primary use, but allowing for it as an accessory use. And then we get into our light industrial zone, allowing for commercial trailers, construction trailers, storage trailers, and then again, that temporary food truck as accessory. So allowing for some more flexible situations that may arise, provided we have been seeing trailers pop up in town and haven't had a real practical way to address them in a way that makes a lot of sense, not only for ourselves, but also for the Board of Selectmen. I've went over that very quickly because I think we've looked at it since October.
For a refresh in my mind, for like 2.6
Yeah.
and when it gets 2.3. There,
Yeah.
when you say specific term or duration, is it gonna be a case by case? Yeah, okay.
So we used to have it in that's such a good question, in the regulations or in the ordinance rather. It only said you could have it for a year. And we all know building a house is not like if you build a house in a year, you're the luckiest person. So making sure that we allow for some flexibility and that if the applicant brings that information to us and we don't have a hard and fast rule, things don't work out that
No,
neatly in reality, sadly.
Exactly.
But just making sure that the applicant knows that we are asking them for a specific amount of time. So that this temporary situation doesn't become a permanent situation, cause that does tend to happen a lot. In zoning. And yes, in a lot of things.
They look for gray everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how many like temporary school trailers are like the permanent building?
I hadn't even thought about it from a school standpoint.
But I mean, from a practicality standpoint, it's like balancing the two of like, where do we have rules that we can enforce and where do we also allow for some flexibility where we haven't allowed for?
What's the next step with this?
It would be to push the text amendment to public hearing.
Are you comfortable with it going as is? Yes.
I make that motion.
So Vincent makes a motion to push this draft town of Canaan Falls Village and zoning. Oh, it's ordinance regulation of trailer, right? Is that what we call it? Trailer regulation to public hearing. Is there a second?
We need the date.
The date of the public hearing? We want to do it in January as well.
I'm happy to.
I mean, it should be pretty much. Well, so I don't think two public hearings. It's gonna be- So at our January.
Johnny Village,
Right?
That's what I'm saying, if you wanted to, but I think we could do two really.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel comfy.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
So the same thing, 23rd.
And we can always continue public hearings, so in the event that the cafe takes a lot of time and we don't wanna rush
We'll
through.
continue them so we can get this
We
done.
can continue
We're
afterwards.
sick of seeing it on there.
Yeah, we are.
Thanks for doing all the work. It's phenomenal.
Is there a second on that? Without seconds, is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
What did you say the name of their cafe was gonna be?
Off the
Off the-
trail.
Off the trail.
Yeah, it's cool.
So,
Yeah.
on to B, I had a question that I don't know the answer to. I wanted to add, I needed to add an item under new business. And I have a motion to reopen.
New business.
Yes, so we have member appointments, reappointments. That I had made a note and I won't read all my own handwritten note. I mean, I guess.
My question though is this considered a special meeting, even though it's our regular, it is considered our regular meeting?
This was the calendar date when we submitted our calendar in 2024.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, then we
So
could.
we can definitely add to it. It's just a matter of.
That's a great
I just have
question.
to ask additional. If it was special, we couldn't add.
So you wanna go back in time to new business?
I wanna add, I guess I could just take a motion if this turns into a whatever, then it does. Under new business, item E. Member reappointments, we have Fred Laser and Steve Koshlin's, terms and December 31st of 2024. Is somebody, will somebody make that motion?
What are they making a motion go to add?
Add this to the agenda.
So three.
Make the motion for you.
Doug, thank you. Ruth, second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Right.
Opposed, abstained, so moved. Okay. So with that being said, we have Stephen's term expiring. And I guess I don't quite remember because we don't come up against the terms very often. Do we take a motion
You need to reappoint.
to reappoint?
That's right.
Does anybody-
7 year.
7.
Right, you think 7, five for alternate,
The Tim Falls Village hooks you for a long time.
yeah, 5 for alternate, maybe
There-
6 maybe.
This is to it,
So it's for your, it's 5 for alternate and it.
Okay, so I will make the motion to reappoint Stephen Foxland to a, how many?
I think it's a 7 year.
That's fine.
To a 7-year term.
Well, mine 4.
Yeah, cause you were taking over
A
someone else.
lot of them look like they're.
Can we reappoint or do we send it to the? board?
No, we said, record, yeah.
Or two.
So I recommend that we send to the Board of Selectmen the reappointment of Stephen Coughlin for a 7-year term that begins
That's fine.
January
That
first,
works,
2020.
2020.
yeah. And kids.
For a
Yeah,
period, I
it's
think
right.
it's 7.
Yeah, December 31st.
So on the website, they're
Yeah.
either 5, so it's very confusing actually, on the website. The way we have the terms, they're either 5-year terms, 4-year terms, and then for whatever reason, Kim is on a 2-year term.
So lots of people are filling
Yeah.
positions.
But
But Matt and Doug were just recently reappointed. So what was their term?
4.
4.
You two asked, they were taking.
Oh, they weren't.
Fred's was.
Filled their
Yeah.
Only 4?
filling
It
in.
looks. like
Great,
it's more.
29 then.
And
Oh.
when was Ruth's? Ruth's when she came back as a regular member. No, they fulfilled who they were filling in for.
Yeah.
And we
So
they hired.
4.
we'll affirm after whatever period, I'll make sure we have the period correct when we send it to the board of stuff, and we'll assume it's 4 years.
It looks like
Apologize for
4,
not
we're gonna wanna clean up.
I felt like it was,
I wanted.
I thought it was 5 for alternates and I
too.
thought it was more for.
somebody
regular.
told me in 08 that it was like.
Thought it was, I didn't think it was 7, I was just
So
following.
you've been an alternate and it is 5 for alternates.
So alternates are 5 and a full member is 7.
It looks like it's 4 based on the terms on the website.
Got made a regular member after her alternate member thing. How long was that for? Do you know?
5.
But I know these two
It's
literally
only
just
Well,
Yeah.
I'll
had their reappointment.
work on the terms.
Please let us know what they are.
So we'll say 4 years.
This is
or-
pretty embarrassing.
The website all over the place.
Alright, so.
For that extra info
Did
you
we
got
vote?
there.
Did we vote? Okay.
Well,
All in favor of that? Do we have a second?
Gosh.
No, just to worry.
Bruce,
made the
second
motion.
that motion, please.
Sure, second.
Vincent, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All abstained. Oh, yes, Stephen abstained. You could vote for yourself. Thank you, Stephen.
And Mark voted yes.
All right, so then we have Fred Laser. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but Fred will not be rejoining the board. I have his letter here that I'll read during public comment or official public comment. So we have 2 alternates. Eileen is willing to become a full-time member. So we could make a motion, and also write a letter that pending the let's see, no, we were. Did they? Let's see, you did not accept Fred's resignation yet.
No.
So that would be at their next meeting, so maybe I'll kind of pending acceptance of Fred's resignation
Resignation.
that we could. Or that we would recommend
Recommend.
Stella to fill.
Excellent.
And then Tim
For our.
comes.
Yeah, you're getting ahead of us.
fill the reg member vacancy.
So, right, yeah, so a 4-year term.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is pending because they didn't get the letter yet.
I got it, pending acceptance of Fred's resignation. By Board of Selectmen. PZ recommends to the Board of Selectmen for Eileen Kinsella to fill the regular member vacancy. Great creative, I guess I could say, yeah.
Yep. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
So I just
Wait a
say,
second, then.
who's making that motion now? What do you want?
No, but so then we're missing an alternate.
Right, we'll do that next.
That's.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we have to
doing
do
it
this first.
separately.
You have to, you have to get through all.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
ands,
steps.
the whole
the ands,
So who
ors.
made the motion?
Yeah, I need that motion.
I'll make the
Steve,
motion.
okay.
Stephen, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ruth,
Lou?
any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Opposed, abstained? So moved.
Unanimous.
Mark, sorry. Is unanimous.
So as we now appoint Eileen to a permanent position, we have a vacancy in our alternate. And we have a live one, folks, sitting in the audience. So I think at the same time, I'd like to do one pen stroke and word it as if approved, Eileen to vacate alternate to permanent, we would have a alternate position, and I would recommend Tim Metzger to fill that position. Kind of got that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. I'll just work this
She
out.
got it.
You get the
In
concept.
my- Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot of ands or
so it's one
Another?
motion then.
No, because
no,
we still
yeah.
have Mark.
we saw.
We have
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah, we're good.
Long term.
Yeah, you're good now.
So I'll take that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Stephen, is there a second?
I'll second it.
You better, Ruth.
Yes.
And that's Justin.
just wanna,
Yes.
did we look at the minority representation of the new composition of the board? Cause that is statutory, so I would just double, triple check before we're pushing those regulation,
We are fine.
awesome. Wait, 'cause so many of us.
No, we are fine.
Yeah.
I can all that.
Yes.
Well, so,
I'm just teasing you. I know.
Yeah, we're good.
good, awesome.
We absolutely.
Democrat replaced Democrat, yes, we're all
Cool.
right on line.
Wow,
Yes.
you know your party affiliation.
Well,
Some people don't even know their own.
we have not.
No.
Okay,
Kyle
all in
Clemens and
favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
I,
All right,
Aye, opposed, abstained.
thank you.
Thank you.
It's exciting,
Very
exciting
exciting.
times on the planning and zoning. A lot of movement.
Yeah.
All right,
Wait, can you guys say something about the term being different for a alternate?
Alternate, it's 5 years.
but you said you're gonna research.
We're gonna make sure it's right,
Yeah.
because
So if you,
I thought it was 6 and 5.
if you guys don't mind too, once we get that all, if you, I'd love to just clean up that website, cause it will be out of sync.
But I think
The
that
reason it was out of sync is
If
it's all
they've already been appointed, you
placements,
can't change
that's
that.
the
No.
problem.
if people
Understood, yeah.
Because they're
But
filling
then-
different
don't
terms.
understand, because unless you know that you're fulfilling somebody else's term, it does look weird.
Yeah,
well.
but they're
we
still
used
not
to
uniform,
put
like
in
they're not all the
parentheses,
same.
filling
And they never
term.
will be, because there's always gonna be,
I
So
see.
let me look
Interesting.
into it a little further, because we
maybe
might
you have
have.
asterisks
Check
fulfilling.
with Denise, because I think we have an accurate one of whose term and who they're filling in for. So
We did, but I know these two
there might be,
fulfilled theirs, whoever they took the place of,
Yeah.
and then they got their own.
It's ever better.
Yes. You want 15, right?
Oh, at 15.
Yeah, Doug would like 15.
he's got it.
I want some security.
So it's like.
Tenure.
A day
He's
later.
looking for tenure.
Oh.
All right, thank you all for your willingness to go back there. We'll return to regulations review item B. You know,
So just as far as the village business zone expansion goes, I'm in a holding pattern, not sure. And not clear where we wanted to go. The one pager is up on the website, so that's sort of our initial PR. I did look at all the addresses that would be affected. Going back in time to see these labels that have been printed, many have not changed. So the question now is, am I preparing a mailer that will go out to the property owners? And in the event that I do, this would be the property owners in the affected zone where the village business residents will be introduced which would be a hybrid of our village center and our residential zone. The question is, do I send letters individually to all the affected property owners at this juncture? Do we plan to host an informational? What are our next steps? That's really what I would love to hear from the commission, bearing in mind we have a busy January with our public hearings, just kind of thinking through when the best time to sort of talk to the public about this will
Yeah,
be.
that was gonna be my suggestion. Can we do something in February where we actually have a meeting that's not our meeting? And if we are gonna do that as part of our mailer, should we pick the date today?
I would recommend, yes, at the minimum, but I don't even know if we don't really wanna, I don't know, I think we may want to have a special. Like. Not just a informational meeting,
Let's just say.
so not just a P and Z meeting.
No, that's what I meant. Yeah, have something that's not our P and Z meeting in February. That's
Right,
specific, yeah, just for this. And should we pick a date now so that it could be part of the mailer?
But is the mailer about informing them of the meeting, or is it above and beyond that?
It's it's,
Informing of the meeting and what the meeting is and
The
what
mailer has-
proposed changes.
the mailer has yet to be fully developed because I'm waiting for this information.
Okay.
It's for us to decide what we
Does it
want.
make any sense to have a
Vincent?
meeting with business owners?
Vincent, hold on. Go ahead.
Sorry, that's right. Right.
Right, finish.
Does it make any sense to have the business, meeting with business zone and combine it with the historic district situation, because there's overlaps? And you'd have all these people at one place, get the whole story out.
So
I'm not sure where we are with the historic district work.
We're in limbo right now. Which will,
They're still in.
They're still working on the historic district.
And Judy and I have been in touch with one another, because the thinking right now, less so going in that full born, because we've also gathered a lot of information from other historic districts of the drawbacks and the benefits. A concept that we've thrown back and forth and discussed was a demolition delay ordinance, not so much a historic district commission, but truly if a building is greater than X number of years, 100 years, for example, there would be a demolition delay, which means that the town could hire someone to go in and do a study to really inventory that building. What we are seeing a lot of is tear downs and rebuilds. What's really important, especially in the village center, is that we have some sort of mechanism, and it's not so much to disallow property owners from ever demolishing a building, but more so that there's a holding period so that time can be taken to catalog, to make sure that the historic significance of that building is understood. Right now, there's nothing on the books, so I could purchase a property on Main Street tomorrow, call an excavator, get permits from the building inspector and get them from the fire marshal and demolish a building that's, 200-year history in this town.
Is
So-
that proposed to be like an ordinance?
Yes. Yeah, that's usually how they run. So that's a thought. Certainly if we're moving full speed ahead with the village business residential zone, because it would be providing more opportunity for the residential area in the village center to include economic development efforts in their property, such as, small businesses and that sort of thing.
With that being said, and I think we're maybe long overdue for that ordinance. Is there anything that the planning and zoning would need to, it's an ordinance, I understand that, but is there anything that would help move things along, or like a letter of support, or
If
a letter of support would always be helpful.
is now a good time, or is it a little preliminary?
Well, I would think to get it
Moving,
in place there, and then, we can go from there, because we are going through all the ordinances now, so this might be the time.
I have two thoughts. One would be to actually get a demo delay ordinance on the books before any sort of forward movement with establishing the village business
Mhm.
residential district.
We don't wanna inadvertently create an issue.
Yeah, and if the commission would allow for my time to even provide an example ordinance to the Board of Selectmen to also expedite the process, just given I think I'm in 8 towns, I can pull a demolition delay ordinance, tailor it for Falls Village and talk to the towns that have them to see where it's really benefited and where there's been some drawback. I know, Warren as a lake community has been dealing with this. There's been a lot of tear downs of lakefront cottages because of just the interest in that area. So they're definitely looking into what they can do. And I believe the Sharon Historic District has demo delay, requires a study. The Historic Society actually goes in and photographs so that artifacts and historically significant buildings are at least remembered, and sometimes it does.
Documented.
Yeah, well documented, yeah.
Ask for a motion to authorize Janelle to pen a sample ordinance for the Board of Selectmen on working with the Planning and Zoning Commission to use as a potential template for said.
And not to thwart the village business zone, which the commission I know has been pushing and working on for maybe
Well,
3 years.
It makes sense to do it in logical order.
Yeah.
Not that there'll probably be a rush, but the what if. And I think it fits in very in line with our P O C D to support such an ordinance.
But do we want to do the ordinance first and then wait to do the informational meeting into March then?
That's my
I'm
opinion.
fine with that. I
That's
feel
my
like
opinion.
spring
I
is
think we
much
oughta
more
give it a
social.
month at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then,
Different now.
so then I
February.
second Greg's motion
Everyone's bad.
for the Planning and Zoning Commission to authorize Janelle to work on the ordinance?
Demolition.
Demolition ordinance.
Demolition delay ordinance for the Board of Selectmen to.
Phenomenal. Great.
Excellent.
And I will
Very
certainly,
excited to work into.
yeah, I'll share,
into a group like this. It's
yeah.
Really something special.
We have to vote on.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining? Marks it on.
Greg, just a thing that you should be aware of, that I have been contacted twice now on the renovation work being done on the Prospect Street, Minor Street building there. Being in the
Owned by
historic,
the
historic district.
the Falls Village Housing Trust?
Yes, so being in the historic district and they applied for grants, there's been some inquiries on the state about the window replacements.
Mhm.
So I think that you need to make it a public knowledge that if people are going to apply for grants and they have a historic building in the historic district, they also may be getting inquiries. They are fighting and putting in the vinyl windows. So.
Is that the State Historic Preservation Office?
So, I handled it saying that we do not have a historic commission in town to oversee that. And if they're looking for the Historical Society input on that, we have no objection to the new windows going in.
So that information could maybe be put in alongside of our village residential business zone? I mean, where would that kind of fit in potentially?
I think it's more for information that people
Yeah.
should be aware that that could come up.
Well, just, I'm kind of thinking like that group that's gonna, maybe the biggest group to hear it at once, maybe we could just put it in our literature as well.
Bulletin.
As we pass along what this is about, we can include that as some sort of addendum or something.
Yeah, some kind of bulletin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or in some way, it's like an update, so that.
and that's the
What
important
are you
thing,
thinking
because
you're
it's just inadvertently.
So is it
But up against
a
it.
renovations?
I know, and
To
people are
house
surprised I've never
historic
had this.
houses and grant considerations?
Yeah, that's
Judy,
good.
does that
Sounds
sound
good.
renovations to historic houses and grant considerations?
Yes. It seems like the grant is what triggered that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And it could be the source of the grant, whatever,
Is it
however, but
state?
still it's.
Grant, state
I believe so.
organization, interesting, yeah.
And since there's a lot of historic buildings that maybe somebody wants to update business use, that might.
It's part of the application to the state.
So, but like, just for instance, what would the checkbox be? Is this property located in a historic zone?
Yeah, historic district,
But if you don't have a historic commission,
because this, it's a separate, we would have it,
so there's a mapped historic district.
yes.
Yes,
Gotcha,
it's
okay.
recognized by the
Okay,
state, it
okay.
has been since
It's
next.
a national historic district.
Interesting.
There's the local, then there's the national.
Minor kind of in the middle because there's so much.
Yes, yeah.
So we have that for January, so then, or March, I'm sorry, February, hopefully it could get in place by February, so now we're talking about. The village business residential zone for potentially March.
Yeah, and so we could probably in either January or February decide on a date and
Good idea.
letters and all of that.
Excellent,
Are we planning a P O C D review at all coming up?
I definitely want to.
Because we have, right
potentially-
now, we have a short list of at least 4 or 5
Yeah.
new items that need
So-
to be reviewed.
When we get to see, this will help. It's a great segue.
Yes, but yeah,
I've been sitting back
maybe we
this
can do in a
week.
It's a good bridge.
It's beautiful.
It was
Go ahead, item C.
Well, I mean, thanks to Doug's intro, because what I did was a quick P O C D review for the preparation of this memo. And this, I just pulled through our P O C D. Because we've been pulled in so many directions for a while, not only some state mandates and then some like adult recreational cannabis, family daycare, and then we did home business and dark skies of our own. We're now sort of recentering and coming back to what were the priorities of the P O C D. So I pulled from the P O C D, went through page by page to see what specific action steps were assigned to the P and Z with respects to zoning regulation updates. So not to not expand on Doug's thought of having like a townwide check-in, but this is sort of our opportunity to have a P and Z check-in. There were many suggestions in the P O C D for regulation updates. What I've done is just taken them in the order that they were presented in the document. They're by no means in order of importance. And what might be really helpful in the upcoming months, since we are also taking in new applications and hearing new applications, to get our priority list straight so that we make sure that we're also implementing the P O C D. So the upcoming priorities, that's all action steps of the P O C D, and we have a lot.
So I think it would also be, so Doug, I didn't look at that, right, but that's interesting, you think of like a public type of update or a planning and zoning. Review saying, hey, this is what we need to do in our house, Board of Selectmen, this is what's on your list,
Well-
fine, you know, whatever.
I
however.
mean, since it falls under us, right, P O C D is our responsibility, basically, I think we need to. Get active and start coordinating what other people are doing as well.
Okay.
So, you know, the Board of Finance right now is going through this exercise where they're bringing every group in, basically, just to, like we did the other night. Something similar, I think, maybe just to talk to the. You know, whoever's in charge of the other groups and say. Don't forget, basically, you know, no pressure, no whatever, but. If we're going to get there, we need to start moving on some of these initiatives, and so for us, you know, dark sky is gonna come in, the regulation review, the. Zoning changes, anything related to us is gonna come into it. But every other commissioner or board may have things that they need to, so I thought it would be more of a. An open public type thing, but we're gonna have to do a lot of work here, obviously, for our own.
So maybe we can kind of, take this under advisement into January.
This would be great. What would be really interesting, if I may give everyone some homework, the upcoming priorities, there's 18 items. If you don't mind ordering them 1 through 18 in order of importance, 1 being most and 18 being least, just based on
As an individual.
as an individual commissioner, just based on what's going on in town, what you foresee we might need to pay attention to. I see solar and I think, okay, the solar committee's working, maybe we need to think of that. Just anything based on what you really think we should be spending our time on and bring it back to our January meeting. And then we can start to pull our list together and see where our focus should lie.
That's what, can you, if somebody mind making a copy of this, that can.
Of course, there's copies.
Okay, I think I have.
Do you have a copy of that already?
Yeah.
A student.
So-
Prepared.
Yeah, seriously.
Super.
Awesome.
Perfect.
But yes, yeah, I think it's gonna be really important to get out and then kind of help other boards and commissions and groups through their.
And if you guys want, at the start of January's meeting, there'll be public hearings. I won't need to be as integrally involved. I can actually take all your sheets at the commencement of the meeting and try to order them and just sit quietly, because you guys can handle the public hearings and have that tallied and hopefully ready.
Great. I look forward to the conference.
Yeah.
CEO report, item number 6.
So there is copies on the table and it has been circulated. It's a little slow, it's winter time. I just received a new application in my box today. But basically a deck platform at 186 Route 63 will now be electrified and potentially added with water and a true structure. A lot of zoning inquiries, definitely around 86 Main Street, just follow up from the building official, which has been nice. Our correspondence has certainly improved as far as some back and forth inquiries about what we're approving and what we're working on. Plenty of inquiries on around 108 Main Street, having just briefed both prospective tenants on some of the requirements. They were very just amenable with working with the town and just super friendly. So it's been nice to work back and forth with them. A lot of inquiries around the process. I did get comments from a property owner on Under Mountain Road inquiring about the longevity of our setback regulations, which I am not aware of. I know that our current regulations, it was like comprehensively overhauled. It looks like back in
1912.
when these initially came out, it looks like right around 2010, and then this was further revised. I don't really have evidence that our setbacks ever changed, but I don't want to give this property owner misinformation or false information. What I was planning on doing is just reaching out to them and letting them know since approximately 2010, I can verify that the setbacks have been
I think that's.
Okay.
Up to date.
perfect. Just wanted to check in with everyone on that. And then otherwise, our public ads, I'll certainly check in with our treasurer to make sure that they have all of the receipts. They tend
We
not to
definitely
be,
sent them.
they tend not to be round even numbers.
I've seen these.
And then an interesting thing, March 22nd is that all-day course. It is online. I think they're doing it every other year. It's a land use academy. It's helpful in that you can attend some of the webinars that are useful, and then you can go about your business and do other things.
It's phenomenal.
It's on a Saturday. The book is worth it in and of itself.
The $40 to get the book is worth it, and it was so informative and such a great way to learn.
Oh,
Yes,
I'm-
immediately.
What? And Commissioner Mackey pointed out, it should actually say 2025 in the report. Yeah,
2025.
and I'm sad to announce the price has gone up to $60.
Okay, five anymore.
Yeah, they really,
So it was, I learned so much. When I did a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it again.
How much still?
How much?
but
It's really interesting.
There
okay.
you go, there's that $100.
And you can not, it's the ones that don't interest you, just.
Moving along, so we can try to meet our 9:30 deadline.
That concludes my report unless there are further questions.
Are there questions from the video? With there being none, we move along to public comment and official correspondence. None. Mhm. I had the correspondence from former chairman Fred Laser. It saddens me to read, but to the Board of Selectmen. Due to my term as a P and Z commissioner being completed in December, I'd like to request that I not be reappointed for an additional term. I appreciated the opportunity to serve the town of Falls Village for many years, decades, and be part of a group of exceptionally dedicated and productive fellow commissioners. Respectfully, Fred Laser. Brings a little tear to my eye.
Yeah, thank you.
History. And had a great, so something we've kind of done with the last two candidates is have them pass along a little introduction about themselves, and Tim did supply me with a
It's fabulous.
very impressive.
Yeah. Maybe you should, can you circulate
I
that?
will circulate this
Yeah.
to save time for reading, so you don't have to listen to my voice for this.
2 minutes is all you have.
Enough time.
Blabber right through it.
But it's very impressive, and Falls Village is lucky to have.
Yeah, thank you
So,
so much. I think it's real great.
I will circulate this to the board.
So neat.
Anything further? Motion to adjourn,
Doug,
8:28.
motion to. Earl,
Yes, second.
Doug and
Whoever. I'll do it. Fine.
Steven.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye. Thanks, Mark.
Aye.
Great
Cool.
meeting.
Thank you all.
What are we gonna do? We have a few minutes to spare.